Hello, third, fourth, and fifth graders. We are back for Esperanza Rising today. Just a little bit of a review from yesterday. Esperanza could hardly bear to open her birthday gifts because Papa had died so close to her birthday. She didn't feel like celebrating. But Mama finally convinced her to do so. And when she opened Papa's doll, she realized it was the last gift she would ever get from him. And she hugged the doll up, left the rest of her gifts laying behind, and just kind of walked out of the room. The name of this chapter was Papayas. And if you remember, there was a big box of papayas that had been delivered that Papa had ordered for her fiesta. Because her favorite fruit salad was made from that. And I hope some of you guys made fruit salad last night, or that you plan on making it maybe over the weekend, just sort of as a tribute to this book and maybe to try something new. Okay, so we're on day 4, and we are going to start, we're in the middle of the chapter. Tio Luis and Tio Marco, remember Tio means uncle, came every day and went into Papa's study to take care of family business. At first, they stayed only a few hours, but soon they became like La Calabaza, the squash plant in Alfonso's garden, whose giant leaves spread out, encroaching upon anything smaller. The uncles eventually stayed each day until dark, taking all their meals at the ranch as well. Esperanza could tell that Mama was uneasy with their constant presence. So think about the squash plant that starts out just a small little plant, and then it grows and grows and it vines out everywhere until it eventually covers up everything. So think about the uncles and how they are like that squash plant, the La Calabaza. They started out just coming in the evenings for a couple of hours, and then eventually they started to overtake everything. Finally, the lawyer came to settle the estate. Mama, Esperanza, and Abuelita sat properly in their black dresses as the uncles walked into the study. A little too loudly, Tio Luis said, "Ramona, grieving does not suit you. I hope you will not wear black all year." Why is Mama wearing black? Give you a second to think about it. And if you don't know the answer, because black is traditionally used to show sadness and remorse at a funeral or upon death, to show grieving. In some cultures, the women wear black for a long time after the death of a loved one. Mama did not answer, but maintained her composure. They nodded to Abuelita, but as usual said nothing to Esperanza. The talk began about bank loans and investments. It all seemed so complicated to Esperanza, and her mind wandered. She had not been in this room since Papa died. She looked around at Papa's desk and books, Mama's basket of crocheting with the silver crochet hooks that Papa had bought her in Guadalajara, the table near the door that held Papa's rose clippers, and beyond the double doors, his garden. Her uncle's papers were strewn across the desk. Papa never kept his desk that way. Tio Luis sat in Papa's chair as if it were his own. And then Esperanza noticed the belt buckle. Papa's belt buckle on Tio Luis's belt. It was wrong. Everything was wrong. Tio Luis should not be sitting in Papa's chair. He should not be wearing Papa's belt buckle with the brand of the ranch on it. For the 1000th time, she wiped the tears that slipped down her face. But this time, they were angry tears. A look of indignation passed between Mama and Abuelita. Were they feeling the same? "Ramona," said the lawyer, "your husband, Sixto Ortega, left this house and all of its contents to you and your daughter. You will also receive the yearly income from the grapes. As you know, it is not customary to leave land to women, and since Luis was the banker on the loan, Sixto left the land to him. "Which makes things rather awkward," said Tio Luis. "I am the bank president and would like to live accordingly. Now that I own this beautiful land, I would like to purchase the house from you for this amount." He handed Mama a piece of paper. Mama looked at him and said, "This is our home. My husband meant for us to live here, and the house is worth 20 times this much. So no, I will not sell. Besides, where would we live?" "I predicted you would say so, Ramona," said Tio Luis, "and I have a solution to your living arrangements. A proposal, actually. One of marriage." "Who is he talking about?" thought Esperanza. "Who would marry him?" He cleared his throat. "Of course, we would wait the appropriate amount of time out of respect for my brother. 1 year is customary, is it not? Even you can see that with your bank, with your beauty and reputation, and my position at the bank, we could be a very powerful couple. Did you know that I, too, have been thinking of entering politics? I am going to campaign for governor. And what woman would not want to be the governor's wife?" Esperanza could not believe what she heard. Mama marry Tio Luis? Marry a goat? She looked wide-eyed at him, then at Mama. Mama's face looked as if it were in terrible pain. She stood up and spoke slowly and deliberately. "I have no desire to marry you, Luis, now or ever. Frankly, your offer offends me." Tio Luis's face hardened like a rock and the muscles twitched in his narrow neck. "You will regret your decision, Ramona. You must keep in mind that this house and those grapes are on my property. I can make things difficult for you, very difficult. I will let you sleep on the decision, for it is more than generous." Tio Luis and Tio Marco put on their hats and left. The lawyer looked uncomfortable and began gathering documents. "Vultures!" cried Abuelita. "Can he do this?" asked Mama. "Yes," said the lawyer. "Technically, he is now your landlord." "But he could build another house, bigger and more pretentious, anywhere on the property," said Mama. "It is not the house that he wants," said Abuelita. "It is your influence that he wants. People in this territory loved Sixto and respect you. With you as his wife, Luis could win any election." Mama stiffened. She looked at the lawyer and said, "Please officially relay this message to Luis. I will never, ever change my mind." "I will do that, Ramona," said the lawyer, "but be careful. He is a devious, dangerous man." The lawyer left, and Mama collapsed into a chair, put her head in her hands, and began to cry. Esperanza ran to her. "Don't cry, Mama. Everything will be all right." But she didn't sound convincing, even to herself, because all she could think about was what Tio Luis had said, that Mama would regret her decision. So Luis owns all of the land, and even though Mama and Esperanza own the house and they get the money that comes from the grapes, Tio Luis still owns the land. So that makes him their landlord. And that really puts Mama and Esperanza in a bind, because it's almost as if he can control what they do if they don't do what he says. That evening, Hortensia and Alfonso sat with Mama and Abuelita discussing the problem. Esperanza paced and Miguel quietly looked on. "Will the income from the grapes be enough to support the house and the servants?" said Mama. "Maybe," said Alfonso. "Then I will stay in my home," said Mama. "Do you have any other money?" said Alfonso. "I have money in the bank," announced Abuelita. And then more quietly she added, "Luis's bank." "He would prevent you from taking it out," said Hortensia. "If we need help, we could borrow money from our friends, from Senor Rodriguez," said Esperanza. "Your uncles are very powerful and corrupt," said Alfonso. "They can make things difficult for anyone who tries to help. Remember, they are the banker and the mayor." The conversation continued to go in circles. Esperanza finally excused herself. She walked out to Papa's garden and sat on a stone bench. Many of the roses had dropped their petals, leaving the stem and the rosehip, the green, grape-like fruit of the rose. Abuelita said the rosehip contained the memory of the roses, and that when you drank tea made from it, you took in all the beauty that the plant had known. These roses had known Papa, she thought. She would ask Hortensia to make rosehip tea tomorrow. Miguel found her in the garden and sat beside her. Since Papa died, he had been polite, but still had not talked to her. Remember, he was upset because she told him that they had a river between them, that she was from the rich side and that he was from the poor side. "And Anza," he said, using her childhood name, "which rose is yours?" In recent years, his voice had become a deep throttle. She hadn't realized how much she missed hearing it. The sound brought tears to her eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. She pointed to the miniature pink blooms with delicate stems that climbed up the trellises. "And where is mine?" asked Miguel, nudging her like he did when they were younger and told each other everything. Esperanza smiled and pointed to the orange sunburst next to it. They had been young children the day Papa had planted one for each of them. "What does it all mean, Miguel?" "There are rumors in town that Luis intends to take over the ranch one way or another. Now that it seems true, we will probably leave for the United States to work." Esperanza shook her head as if to say no. She could not imagine living without Hortensia, Alfonso, and Miguel. "My father and I have lost faith in our country. We were born servants here, and no matter how hard we work, we will always be servants. Your father was a good man. He gave us a small piece of land and a cabin. But your uncles, you know their reputation. They would take it all away and treat us like animals. We will not work for them. The work is hard in the United States, but at least there we have a chance to be more than servants." "But Mama and Abuelita, we need you." "My father says we won't leave until it is necessary." He reached over and took her hand. "I'm sorry about your papa." His touch was warm and Esperanza's heart skipped. She looked at her hand in his and felt the color rushing to her face. Surprised at her own blush, she pulled away from him. She stood and stared at the roses. An awkward silence built a wall between them. She glanced quickly at him. He was still looking at her with eyes full of hurt. Before Miguel left her there, he said softly, "You were right, Esperanza. In Mexico, we stand on different sides of the river." Esperanza went up to her room, thinking that nothing seemed right. She walked slowly around her bed, running her hand over the finely carved post. She counted the dolls lined up on her dresser. 13, one for each birthday. When Papa was alive, everything was in order, like the dolls lined up in a row. She put on a long cotton nightgown with hand-sewn lace, picked up the new doll, and walked to the open window. Looking out over the valley, she wondered where they would go if they had to live somewhere else. They had no other family except Abuelita's sisters, and they were nuns in a convent. "I won't ever leave here," she whispered. A sudden breeze carried a familiar, pungent smell. She looked down in the courtyard and saw the wooden box still sitting on the patio. It held the papayas from Senor Rodriguez, the ones that Papa had ordered, that should have been served on her birthday. Their overripe sweetness now pervaded the air with each breath of wind. She crawled into the bed beneath the linens edged with lace. Hugging the doll, she tried to sleep, but her thoughts kept returning to Tio Luis. She felt sick at the thought of Mama marrying him. Of course, she had told him no. She took a deep breath, still smelling the papayas and Papa's sweet intentions. Why did Papa have to die? Why did he leave me and Mama? She closed her eyes tight and did what she tried to do each night. She tried to find the dream, the one where Papa was singing the birthday song. Okay, so let's think about a couple of things since we finished this chapter. One is, why are Mama and Esperanza in a bind? So think about that. I'm not going to tell you the answer to it. We talked about it a little bit. Why are they in a bind? Why are they in trouble? Why are things hard for them right now? Also, if Hortensia, Alfonso, and Miguel are headed to America, what might be a good option for Esperanza and Mama to do? Do you think they should go to America with them? But why would that, going to America, also be a tough option for them? Why would it be hard for Mama and Esperanza to go to America? Okay, your challenge for today is to Google rosehip tea and find out 3 facts about it. Esperanza said that she was going to get Hortensia to make rosehip tea out of the roses that knew Papa, because all of the good and beautiful things the roses had seen would then be part of the tea that she was drinking. So Google rosehip tea and find out 3 facts about making or drinking or anything about rosehip tea. Okay, see you guys tomorrow for day 5, and we'll be starting a new chapter called Figs.